Oh my God, okay. Warmed up.
All right, thanks everybody for coming. This is my project with Shawn Crowder, Sungazer. My name is Adam Neely. Holy crap, there are a lot of people in here. Okay, so we're going to talk about some of our tunes, but before we do that, we're going to invite Carlos from Insaneintherain Music to noodle some saxophone for you all over a new tune of ours. This is called Drunk. It is all about getting... he is, yes, hold on one second. I forgot to press Control S last night, so there's all these settings. Yeah, I know, okay. So this is Drunk. Hope you enjoy. That was Carlos from Insane in the Rain Music on that sax solo, and Sean Crowder on the drum solo. So we're gonna do a tune that has not been released yet. Oh, this is a tune called Electro, and it is going to have another sax solo on it. Very fun, very fun. Everybody likes a good sax solo. And yeah, it goes a little something like this. That's Carlos from Insane in the Rain Music. Woo! It's worked out today. So we're gonna do, I guess, a little bit of a masterclass sort of situation here. Meaning, we're gonna talk a little bit about the music we just played, and maybe talk, maybe take some questions at the very end. But that song that we just played was called Electro, and it ended in this sort of like kind of freak out sort of situation where Shawn was playing lots of notes, and so, we basically, when we started this band, we were trying to think about different ways of using odd rhythmic concepts, but not odd time signatures, to make electronic music. And there's a difference between odd time signatures and odd rhythmic concepts. So what we did at the end is we kind of divided the beat into groups of 5 versus our normal 4. So the way that we kind of think about this is we're thinking, instead of counting, a normal 16th note where you divide the beat into groups of 4, we're grouping it into 5. And I guess, what's the best way of counting that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Takadimi, or takata? I don't know. Takadina, go. I can't never do it. I just do takada taka. And I think it's really fun to try and explore these ideas in an electronic music sort of situation that doesn't really happen that often. And I think it gives it a very interesting Ooh, we're getting cutting in and out. So what we're gonna do you want to do that thing where we play every, we do the first quintuplet? Okay. So getting into this is kind of tricky because we live our life hearing groupings of 4 everywhere we go. Groupings of 4 are kind of like our default. In fact, like most digital audio workstations, just kind of lock you to the 4 grid, and it's very difficult to even in the box get into a 5 grid when it should be easy. And the reason for that is because the box is mimicking normal musical conventions and has been programmed to give you normal musical conventions. So sometimes you have to go outside the box. What we're gonna do just to feel that grouping of 5 is we're gonna basically play every, like if you have a grid, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It helps to start feeling this by first playing on just the first of those 5 notes, and then the second of the 5 notes, and then the third of the 5 notes, and the fourth and the fifth. So I think we're gonna do that kind of slow. I'm normally the one that screws up. That's the first time. Oh my God, you guys witnessed history. No, he's serious. He's like a human metronome. It's insane. That's the idea. Okay, we're not gonna finish it. We got our chance. We blew it. And I mean, it sounds like math is involved, because it is. In our heads, at least I'm thinking, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna play on the 2, and it comes down to being comfortable counting to 5, and it's something that's not that hard. Everybody counts to 5. Let's count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the thing is the instinct when you count to 5 is to not come back to the beginning in that same sort of cadence. And so a lot of this is just learning to count to 5, going back to 1 in the same sort of cadence you count to 5 normally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At least that's one way that I think about it. There's many different ways too. So that tune Electro is kind of based on that. What are we gonna play next? What should we play? Oh yeah, we're gonna play a tune called Ether, which is based on 5/2. 5/4 actually. Ha ha ha. All right. And on that note, Thank you, everybody. So you might recognize that song as the background music to my videos. So we're going to continue the playlist of background music with another tune that I have sometimes in my YouTube videos. This one's called Dream of Mahjong. And instead of counting to 5 really fast, we're going to count to 7 really fast. We're just going to count to all the numbers really fast. So Shawn, can you break down how you play this sort of groove in the verse section? Actually, could you demonstrate what the groove in the verse section is, and then also how you count it? Yeah. Here. No, here. That's okay. I'm gonna play first. Okay, he's gonna play. Okay. Okay, so that doesn't sound like 7 at all. That just sounds like 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But how's it?
Yeah, if you play 7s really fast in there, so 7 evenly spaced notes in between all of those beats.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Except a lot faster. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah, okay, cool. Wow. Dang. Whew, it's rough, except it's way faster than that. So I'm not playing that. He is. Yeah, I just play. There's a part where I play some fast, tappy stuff in 7. But then I just move my fingers and hope that it lines up. This is pro tips for everybody. How to be a musician. Move your fingers and hope it lines up eventually with what the drummer is doing. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do this thing. Thank you. So there's a section in there that was being controlled basically entirely by Shawn's drum set. So there's a lot of these like kind of crazy what bleh, like, the dubstep thing. I'm perpetually stuck in the year 2012. Skrillex is just, yes. But basically, the whole idea is that his kick drum is triggering a synthesizer, which goes what whenever he hits the kick drum. And it follows a chord progression. So there's not really any playback in terms of track that you're hearing. It's really just what Shawn is doing on the kick. So what's probably a better, maybe the sequence start thing to show how the sequence actually, well. Okay, yeah. So this is like. Yeah. So basically, the whole idea with this whole setup, all this nonsense, is to try and incorporate as many of those kinds of events as possible, because there's a fair amount of improvisation that we can do with it. It's really exciting to be able to meld improvisation, oh, he's gone. Okay, damn. like bringing guest musicians on board, and also just improvising around these little tunes. It's so much fun to be able to do that with a program like Ableton Live, and yeah, so that's one of the many little tricks that we do. What's another song we can play? Which one? Level 1. Oh, okay. All right, we can do that one. Let's do that.
Level 1.
The name of that song was Level 1, in case you didn't you didn't hear it. Okay, so I think we got one more for you guys. And this one is, it's just a fast song. This one's called I Walk Alone. This is this is the last tune off of our first EP, and it involves, this is our only vocal number, and I will not be singing it, the computer will be singing it, so. Next time.
It's for the best.
Yeah, well, Okay. Couldn't think of a witty remark. All right. Thank you, guys. We are gonna do a Q&A maybe, and then maybe one more at the very, very end. But let's maybe open it up to some questions. Okay, back. That's the first. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Can you pass around a wireless mic so we can get it on stream?
Oh yeah. Oh, okay.
Can you pass that mic around?
This mic.
Whichever one.
Cool. Check.
As long as the red light's on, you're active.
The red light is on.
Cool.
Thank you. All right. Oh, I like this mic better. Cool. Sick.
Hi. Okay,
Hello.
so first of all, that was fucking sick.
Oh, thanks.
Nasty.
Thank you.
So in that, was it the second to the last, third to the last song where you were doing that slug beat, and you said you were subdividing it in 7.
Mm-hmm.
What accents were you putting, which parts of the 7 were you accenting on the hi-hat to give it that, that swing slug beat feel?
The first and the 6th for that first part. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Gotcha.
Then the part after that is kind of like a shuffle. So like,
Right.
but there's an extra note because the shuffle would be 6. Normal shuffle. So that's right. 2 triplets, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 makes 6. If you turn it into 7, there's an extra one somewhere in there.
So that kind of threw me when Shawn first explained it, because normally what I was thinking, like, oh, it's 7, so 4 plus 3, but it's kind of like 5 plus 2, and that's kind of like where the swing lies in that particular tune.
Right.
Yeah. Cool.
Solid. Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, let's kind of like move away, like, around there, just so we can,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So clearly, this is all like super complicated music. How do you think about writing this?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so the whole concept of the band, Shawn and I used to be roommates, and so he would basically improvise drum solos and send them to me. And like when I say improvised drum solos, they were like, they had a song form. So there's like a rhythmic concept behind the drum solo. It wasn't just like playing whatever. There's like thought out A sections and B sections and C sections and all that. And then he would just send it to me, and then I'd be like, all right, well, you're playing like some crazy rhythmic stuff. What do I do over that? And so I spent some time like listening to it and then basically just writing music on top of exactly what he did. Then, once we had like these produced tracks, we kind of reverse engineered it. We tried to figure out, okay, how do we play this live? So we kind of like took the sections that we had written and moved them around a little bit. And it's a really interesting workflow because normally I would just like start writing music, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like, that's a melody I like, or that's a chord progression I like. No, this is like, I have a drum solo I need to write music to. And it's a very limiting sort of thing, but limiting in a very, very good way, because it instantly gives you ideas, and usually my first idea is the idea that I kind of run with. That's the compositional process for us. Cool. Other questions? Let's kind of just.
So you made a video a bit back of you're an electric bass player, so how do you transition to upright bass if you need to?
Yeah.
But do you have any tips for like if you're trained in classical upright bass, how to go to electric bass and do that?
Yeah, okay, so if you're a classical upright bass player, chances are that you have your pizzicato playing is different than a jazz bass player's pizzicato playing. And a jazz bass player's pizzicato playing is very different from an electric bass player's pizzicato. I'm not plucking the strings very hard. I'm plucking the strings very, very lightly in general. So a good rule of thumb is basically just to let the amplifier do the talking, if that makes any sense. There's a very fine amount of gradient between how much you attack the strings. So what I mean is like the amount of sound, the way how sound works with a pickup takes a while to get used to. So the first tip is basically just trying to make sure that your tone is super even by alternating your fingers, index, middle, index, middle. That's the first and most important thing. The second thing is getting the exact right touch behind a fret, because I know that like the touch on an upright bass is very different from an electric. Even though the fingering might be the same, more or less, sometimes it's not. But there's this kind of, I guess, this is bass player stuff, so everybody else can, ignore. You guys, yeah, okay. Let's bass players talk. There's this whole thing about you want to be able to touch the string as lightly as you possibly can and very, very slowly apply pressure until you actually hear the note come out. And it turns out it's a lot less pressure than you might think. So to extrapolate this to life lessons about music, a lot of the time when it comes to practicing an instrument, it comes down to being as efficient as you can, which I translate into being as lazy as you can. But I practice very, very hard to be as lazy as I can. I want to move my hands as little as possible and my fingers as little as possible. That's kind of a life lesson for that. If that makes any sense. I'll eventually make that video, I promise. Next question. Let's back. We're gonna do like a loop, if that's cool. Cool.
I was just wondering if you guys have any of that music in forms that I could buy.
Yes, Bandcamp is. We also have Spotify and all that stuff. We have a new EP with a lot of that music coming out on January 7th. So go buy that. I forgot to plug that. I'm not used to plugging my own music. That's weird. Cool. So yeah, just Sungazer on Spotify. Questions? Yes.
Hi. How much time do you typically spend on sound design for some of those electronic tracks?
Oh, a lot of time. And I also don't know what I'm doing. That's the big thing. Is like I'm in the box. Like, wow, that sounded cool. A lot of the time, it's because there's three things really. There's the production and sound design. Then there's the mixing, and then there's the live performance. And the production and sound design and mixing, I don't come from any background from that. So that takes stupid amounts of time, which is part of the reason why none of this music. It took like 4 years for us to actually start really playing live, right? This is like the first couple of months where we're playing live, because it just takes a long time. I don't know. I can't give a good answer. I'm sorry, man. Yeah.
Do you slap and pop?
I do.
I did not witness it.
All right. Let me show you. This is California Girls. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you.
That is how I slap and pop.
Thank
it's
you
not
so
very
much.
good. Thank you. Oh, yes, I do, gent. Come tomorrow to Charlie Rosen's thing, and I'll have my 5-string. So, sorry, next question, yeah.
So you had a video about keeping your wrist straight when you're playing. Is that a bassist only thing or a guitar thing?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So I'm trying to do bar chords to keep it straight, but it's not really working for me.
Yeah, so it's tricky with guitar. And bar chords are kind of like the big trick with the straightness. So there's a couple ideas. Yes, it is good to keep a straight wrist even with bar chords, because what ends up happening with bar chords is you put a tremendous amount of pressure on the wrist right here. And try all of the pressure in terms of what you're trying to communicate from your upper arm into the strings just gets lost and locked in here. So a couple answers to that. Play the guitar out like this, away from your body at almost a 45-degree angle. It looks really stupid, but trust me, this ends up being a lot easier in the long run, is to angle your instrument away from you. The other thing to keep in mind is that it's okay to have I call this nerd height, which is like, I live at nerd height, which is up here. It's okay to do that. And the other thing is, think about the bar, the pressure coming on the side of the finger, not here. It's the side of the finger is usually the best way of doing it. Also get lighter gauge strings and lower your action. So yeah, cool. More questions on this side. Oh, let's grab for over here and then we'll come back around. Yeah.
All right, well, first of all, I can't believe I'm the first one to do this, but ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. Hey, Adam.
So, if you were paying attention, there was a 5/4 version of the lick in the ether solo, but yes. All right, yes.
So in the form of a YouTube comment, hey, Adam, I've been having a lot of trouble with your video on how classical musicians feel rhythm differently.
Yeah.
What are your tips for somebody who really hasn't internalized the kind of groove that a lot of people have kind of grown up with?
Okay, well, counting out loud is the big thing that I love thinking about. I love, when you're playing music, I love counting. Counting is great because we all count. We know how to count to 4, most of us. We counted to 5 earlier. Okay, so great. We know how to count to 5. That's even better. So there's a cadence to counting. Nobody counts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's a metronomic cadence whenever we count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's how we count, that we internalize that very deeply. And if you count while you're playing, do you play a wind instrument?
No.
Okay, good.
Classical guitar.
Okay, good. Okay, you're great. So one exercise is literally to play something that you know and count out loud, but not to, and that's going to take a while because what you need to do is you need to graft all the subdivisions onto like the 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I was playing this bass line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So the problem with that is it kind of sounds easy. Oh, you just count to 4. But I have to be responsible for 2 separate things, not just my counting, but also the subdivisions, the stuff in between the counts. So the first way of practicing that would be to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Literally just count out every single thing. It doesn't have to be in time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, great. That's the first step. Then as you feel more and more comfortable with speaking it, your musicianship will come out. And that's the fun thing, is matching those cadences of your speaking voice to your playing. And that is what I think that is, I think, what is the crux of feeling the groove, is to be able to feel that cadence that you naturally speak with in your body while you're playing. And it takes a while. To just do that 1 and 2 and, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That took me many months just to do that little thing. But count. Count is the big thing. And it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be very hard, but it's worth it. Cool.
Hey guys. So Adam, you talked earlier a bit about Shawn's setup, which is like the coolest thing I've heard all week. Yeah. I was curious if you could go into more detail about your side of things with the bass and the pedals.
Oh yeah. So there's that. So what's happening here? I mean, it used to be a lot more complicated, and then I got kind of lazy. But this iPad basically is controlling Ableton Live. So I'm firing scenes. So basically, different sections of songs. I can press this button. It's like a red button right corner. It says fire next scene, and I can press it, and then it goes to the next scene. Then there's like all these other things that I can control. Like I have this whole layout in terms of controlling effects with the iPad. I don't know, I can do other stupid things. And then this keyboard right here is basically just, it changes patches along with the song. So in certain songs, it's a bass keyboard patch. I'm gonna turn this down just a little bit. And then in other songs, it's like, I don't know, like weird bleeps and bloops and other things. And basically, I just use this as like a sample pad. I might as well just use like one of those, you know, an MPC or whatever. But I just have this little cheap keyboard, so I just use it. Yeah, and then it's just an Ableton Live setup. Unless you actually go through the whole thing, it's fairly involved because it's sending click. We both have these clicks going in our ears, which is kind of a form of cheating, I guess, because well, it's not really cheating. It's actually harder to play with the click, but it's just nice to have like cues. Like if we can't hear the backing track or something like that, we know where we are in the music just because we always have a click going on. And then I have this cool bass sound, which I use for everything, which is the Boss OC2, which just makes it sound kind of like that, except not like that. It's just a different thing. So this is kind of like the thing that a lot of bass players, and I got this from Evan Marion, who played at MAGFest 2 years ago. Oh my God, Evan is ridiculous. And then he got it from Tim LaFave, who plays with Wayne Krantz, and it's just that started with like Jojo Mayer. Anyway, it's just it's a sound that makes it sound like a synthesizer. Okay. Question or okay? Oh yeah.
Thank you.
I hope you guys don't mind if I double dip. I have 2 questions.
Oh yeah.
First one is, you said Jojo Mayer, so Nerve, right?
Yeah, yeah.
How much are you guys inspired by that?
Very much so.
That's awesome, because I saw a lot of DMB that you guys are doing.
Crazy
Stuff.
Yeah.
The other thing is, actually, Shawn, I want to ask you about your, I see your SPD-SX setup. How did you start integrating that into your drum playing? Because I want to do that a little bit more.
Yeah, first of all, I really love Nerve, and I saw them in Berlin about a month ago. They were awesome. And I happened to see Jojo Mayer like on the street having a coffee at a cafe. I was like, oh, I wonder if Nerve is playing. Anyway, I started with the electronic stuff with the Octapad, the Roland, Octapad. So it's got like, I don't know, it's a different shape and it has different features. It has a lot of sounds built into it, Whereas, I mean, this one does also, but this SPDSX has the advantage that you can load your own sounds onto it, which is huge. But I guess I just started running into more situations where like the music I was playing was calling for electronics. This is like before Sungazer. This is like playing pop kind of music, you know, backing up singers and whatnot. Like, you can only make the electronic sounds with the electronic gear. And the same goes for the acoustic sound. They're just two different tools. So as far as how, I don't know, I just dove in. Like, I knew nothing about it. Just like started from scratch. Like, I had to learn it all on my own, so yeah.
Cool, thank you so much.
Yeah.
What's up?
Hey.
So yeah, I kind of have two questions for you guys, both of you, if that's all right.
Cool.
Okay, so it's kind of a big question. I'm someone who's trying to start writing music and stuff like that, and so I'm very, very curious. Both of you guys, Shawn and Adam, like, what are, obviously you guys are like really pushing, at least in my opinion, as far as I know, pushing kind of like music today to the forefront, kind of innovating and trying new stuff, as far as I know. And so what are kind of your influences? Like, who do you really draw from? Like, are there electronic people like today, or are you like going way back, like jazz, obviously jazz, but classical, and like maybe even like world music and all that weird stuff that you just can find like who knows where, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, so I mean, I think I can speak for both of us that Jojo Mayer is definitely an influence. A lot of jazz musicians now are getting really into electronic textures and sounds, and they're bringing the sensibility of jazz music, which is like improvisation, scales, noodly stuff, but then within much more electronic textures and feelings and that sort of thing. And for me personally, I mean, there's this guy, Zach Danziger, who does a very similar setup to us. Very similar. Actually, honestly, we kind of ripped off the setup. I mean, the music's different, but the setup is very much the same in terms of the triggering and the laptop and everything. I mean, other people, Mark Juliana is a drummer. A lot of drummers are like really, we're excited about.
I could tell, yeah.
Mark Juliana, definitely. Evan Marion, friend of mine, also pushing the boundary. There was a, actually, I remember exactly the moment that I knew I wanted to do this kind of music. Because I was, learning jazz, and I liked what I was doing, but there was something that felt like very, I enjoyed the intellectual exercise of it, but at the same time, I didn't feel like it was particularly happening like now. My relationship to jazz music has been very ambivalent over the years. Like, I love it and I dislike it at the same time. But I saw this video that Evan Marion did with Dana Hawkins, and it was called OC. It was in 2010, I think. And it was just like, oh, this is the coolest shit ever. Like, it was like Dana's crazy fusion, like quasi almost gospel linear chops, and then Evan's like crazy bass noodling. I'm like, this is exactly what I love. This is amazing. And
what were their names again?
Evan Marion and Dana Hawkins. Evan Marion and Dana Hawkins. They are an awesome power duo. And I mean, other influences, geez, there's so many.
Yeah,
I'm just talking.
I know it's a big question.
I know, I'm just talking about this music in particular.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my next question, I guess, is it really is kind of similar to the first one. Who do you think today is really, who are the ones that are really making music, who are pushing music, who are, almost like advancing humanity, so to speak, if you want to look at it that deeply, you know what I mean?
Advancing humanity and making...
Well, through music.
I have the answer for you, though. Bill Wirtz. Yes. I don't mean that glibly. I mean, yeah, I think Bill Wirtz is a modern day genius, but yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I those are the influences I think that he's pushing it forward. Louis Cole and Noah and Genevieve Artadi. They're awesome too.
Oh, sorry, Louis Cole, you said?
Louis Cole, and he has a duo called Noah with Genevieve Artadi, and they are awesome.
Thank you.
All right, let's keep it moving, just so we get to more people. We'll do like maybe 10 more minutes of questions, do one more tune, and then be done. Yeah.
I've watched a lot of your videos talking about your experiences with music school. First of all, I'm a student, well, I was a student of computer science, and now I'm a professional software developer. But all of my life, I've been playing this saxophone,
Nice.
and I've done music as a minor, but I've done composition, I've done performances, I've gone to jam sessions, now I'm here at MAGFest. I want to take my music further, but I've been thinking about maybe going back to school for music, maybe music composition. What are your thoughts about maybe going to music school part-time or even online? I know that Berkeley has an online program for music composition. I know that it's not your expertise, but I thought that I would at least get an expert opinion.
Yeah, well, I think the reason why you go to music school is less for the education, less for what you learn at music school. I think it's for the people that you meet at music school. I really, truly do. Because you can learn information from many different places, like, yeah. Yeah. I don't think that you should go to music school to learn things, if that makes any sense. I think you should go, it will take, going to music school will take you to the next level, even if it's community college, if you go to a good community program, because there are tons of them.
I'm in New York, I know.
Yeah, exactly.
The CUNY system, the SUNY system.
Oh yeah, I mean, oh my God, that's insane. I know the guy who does jazz at the CUNY, the Manhattan one, and just killer program they have. It's kind of crazy. Like, I think there is so much. I think music school is great. It's just for not any of the reasons that anybody thinks it's great. It's for going there, being in an environment with people that are equally as hungry as you are, and that is the inspiration. At least that's what it was for me. That's personally for me. That's why I wholly recommend going to music school. Not for the information. The information, it could be great or it could be bad, but if the student body is there to like encourage and inspire you, that's really the reason.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hello. I guess one thing I'm wondering, as a drummer who has always been amazed by this kind of music, this kind of duo, I'd love to do something like this also with some of my friends. Trying to figure, if you have any advice maybe for how to get into the music side of it. Every time I try to learn music theory stuff, there's just something I'm not really getting right. Like, I had an idea to learn keyboard as the way to just learn that, and sort of, so I was wondering if you might have some perspective on that. And also just really quickly, as far as your guys' setup, I think I noticed at a certain point, Shawn's playing like a switch that it was triggering the samples and stuff, and then it stopped. I wasn't sure if that's something you were controlling through your iPad and Ableton and the scenes.
Yeah.
And all that.
So to answer the second question, because that's slightly easier. Yeah, so in Ableton, there's these different scenes, and you can control which patch gets fired when. So yeah, and I'm not even pressing a button. It just does it automatically, because that's the nice thing, right? I have all these songs set up in a way so that it controls which patch moves at what time. So I don't have to press a button to change my keyboard patches. I don't have to press a button to change that. It happens in real time because we're going on to the next section in the song, and each section has a certain number of patches.
Right. So that was moving time-wise.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. The second question, in terms of like the block of music theory, you said you're a drummer. Keys are a great way of doing it. Also, just messing around in digital audio workstations, great way of doing it. When people say there's a block in music theory, a lot of the time you don't know how to get from the beginning to where you want to be. There's this quote from Ira Glass. I'm going to screw it up. Your taste always exceeds your ability. So you know what you want to do, but you don't have the technique yet to be able to do it. And that is incredibly frustrating. That's so frustrating. And in the beginning of any discipline, you get inspired by something, but you don't know how to do it. And then there's like this massive gap. And the trick there is being able to trust that because you start at the beginning, eventually you will work your way to where your taste is. That requires a phenomenal leap of faith to be able to say, okay, I suck right now, nothing is sounding right. Like, this is like, what is the C to G? That doesn't sound like really cool and hip and awesome. But trusting the process and trusting that these are the building blocks to get you to the crazy, whatever, compositional devices you'd like to hear, or just like these cool sounds. A lot of that is that. I think that really affected me when I heard that quote. I was like, oh, okay, so It's okay to suck in the beginning. It's okay to feel like frustrated, like, I can't get there. So I'm not sure if that's a block. I'm not sure if that is exactly what you're talking about with a block, but that at least gives me the broader picture a little bit. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Keep going, maybe a couple more on the side, just because we haven't gotten to some of these people. Sorry. Yeah.
So I'm like moving towards being like a professional musician, trying to like do this kind of thing every day, and the problem that I've found is I just can't find a way to get this kind of music, like the music that I want to play, in front of people that are like-minded, like a group like this. Do you have any suggestions for doing that, for pushing that music out there?
Get some people's numbers today. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
Like, networking is very important. Really, I'm like, that's the most important thing. I met Shawn at music school, and I only have ever met people that are, in environments that are exciting and like, oh my God, like this is what I want to do. Like, talk and introduce yourself. Like, that's what it is. It is, because it can be very frustrating otherwise. Like, Craigslist wants to make chiptunes jazz or whatever. Like that. That's gonna be useless. So yeah, I'm serious with that. I think that is like the thing for getting your music on other people's music stands. I think you have to go and find the places that people are playing the music that you want to make. I think that is an important thing.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah.
Hi. This is a question kind of related to your video on like advanced reharmonization, and I saw you mention nowhere again. This is talking a little bit about, I guess, the ceiling of complexity versus accessibility. Have you guys found like your threshold for maybe going too far complex or too far out there? And just what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so when Shawn and I get drunk, which happens sometimes, we're like, okay, so what is the fastest somebody could possibly play? So it turns out there's cognitive research that says that 100 milliseconds is the threshold of understanding two beats being related to each other by some sort of rhythmic conception. So 100 milliseconds. All right, what's the slowest that two beats can be put together? And that's roughly 33 beats per minute. I know I have a video about that. So how fast could you play between two beats at 33 beats per minute? Okay. So we got some math out, and it turns out 19 tuplets at 33 beats per minute is kind of what we're aiming for. So I don't know if that answers your question, but but we're gonna make that song.
Maybe.
Okay, so we're gonna make that song, and we're not really gonna care. That's the thing. We're not gonna care. We're gonna do it. We're gonna use our taste. We're gonna figure out if that works or not. Because we're not doing this to be complex. We're doing this because it entertains us, basically.
Yeah. Well, I see with like your music, it's complex, but it's still relatable. It's still like accessible to me or to everyone here. It's listening to it. But I really took that statement to heart of just like where you're complex and almost alienating to certain people.
Yeah.
But that finding that line is very interesting to me for each individual musician as well.
Yeah,
So
sorry if I made that glib. Like an artist won't care. That's the thing. They're not going to inform their decision making artistically by that line. There is a threshold, but your decision making shouldn't be, I'll say, governed by that threshold. Cool. Other questions? Cool.
Quick question for both of you is, what are your favorite video game soundtracks? This is MAGFest.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta talk about games,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Ironically, I'm not much of a gamer, to be honest.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. But the Persona 4 soundtrack.
All right.
So my friend Zach Zinger has turned me on to a lot of really good music. So
All right.
that is for me.
Yeah.
I've been told that. Yeah. Do you have any, Shawn? Or
It's okay. I mean, new or old, anything's good. So. Yeah. Crush 40.
Yeah. Sorry. Let's keep going.
So I actually had oh god, that sounds so much louder when I actually talk into it.
It's awesome, isn't it? It's so cool. Anyway.
So I actually had a question with regards to sequence start. That just completely insane arpeggiated thing that is going on in the, like, I don't know if that would be the chorus section or how you guys conceptualize the form. Like, what is that?
So I'll play it slowly.
Yes,
if I can
please.
play it slowly. So that was really out of tune, but so that the conception of that is there's this a lot of my bass lines fill this role. There's this idea. It's called moto moto. Oh my god, I can't speak Italian. Moto perpetuo. Moto perpetuo is this idea in some like 19th century romantic classical compositions of just like a line which just keeps going, just like going. Like there's every subdivision is accounted for. A good example of that is the Bach cello suite prelude. Like, oh, that sounds nice. So what that is it's just playing every subdivision, all the 16th notes by arpeggios, and then it's like following the line of these chords. So there are like 3 chords. The first chord is a C major 7. Next chord is an A minor 7. Next chord is a E major 7. But I'm playing in the quintuplet subdivision. So again, counting to 5 really fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Except even faster than that. I'm out of shape on that one. I'm sorry about that, but yeah. So that's sequence start. Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So if I want the information that I might get from music school, but don't want to spend an assload of money on music school, where should I go to obtain this knowledge?
So, I mean, that's a tricky question. There's a lot of stuff you learn in music school. There's a lot of stuff. It's a lot more than just like the modes or whatever. There's a lot of like ear training and then courses in ear training and like, you know, getting together in groups and doing ear training exams and tests and like, because you're involved with the people there, you can test each other and there's like, you know, like ensembles that you play in and then ensemble coaches that teach you how to play in a group and there's all this sort of thing. So it's hard to say that there's one place to go for like music school without the music school. I will say that YouTube is a great place. I can wholeheartedly recommend the channel 12 Tone has this thing called Building Blocks. 12 Tone's an amazing channel. My friend Ben Levin, actually, yeah, Ben, we've worked with Ben plenty of times. He has a great channel. It's called, a series called Building Music Theory from the Ground Up, or Music Theory from the Ground Up is a great thing. Anything that Ben does is awesome. You should just watch it. So, yeah, that's the free education right there. In terms of a methodical way, I don't know if there is one. Sorry, yeah.
This will be our last question.
Cool, thanks.
Hey, and I'm sorry. I joined a bit late, so apologies if this was asked earlier.
Yep.
I also am a bassist, trying to take my skills to the next level. I was wondering if I could get your thoughts on making the most out of practice and like what should a bassist be focused on? What skills do they need to like really have down pat every time they sit down to practice?
Okay, that's a big question, but I can answer it several ways. I've been thinking a lot about how I got to where I am, and it's all over the place. It's all over the place. Like there was no method, there was no routine. It was just a lot of bass playing. And if you listen to a lot of like older bass players, and like, how did you learn to play? Well, I just played all the time. Like, but how? No, I just played. But how? I just played. And it becomes a circular sort of thing. But there is a thing there's a big, for me personally, learning songs and learning repertoire goes a very long way. Being able to play a song, hear it by ear, figure out a song by ear, learn how to play it on your instrument, figure out another song to play by ear, play it on your instrument. That goes a very, very long way in ways that I feel like not a lot of people know about or talk about. Because all the time people are talking about practicing scales and arpeggios and things like that. And all that stuff is good. I mean, if you want to be a completist about it, you could say like, okay, well, you should be able to play your major arpeggio, minor arpeggio, augmented arpeggio, diminished arpeggio, major 7 arpeggio, and then 2 octaves, you could do, okay, so let me say what I just did, sorry. Major 7, dominant 7, minor 7 flat 5, diminished 7, what am I missing? Oh yes, of course, the augmented major 7. Yes, everybody uses that one. So there's all those things. There's so many of those things, and they're great. And you can find a lot of that information, and the trick with this is that it can sometimes be tricky. You can have a disconnect. You won't feel super inspired by learning and going through each one of those things. But as soon as you start learning songs, you start seeing the shapes that you were practicing in the practice section applied in the music in very specific and interesting ways. And it will take a long time to get to the point where you can say like, aha, that is a C major 7 sharp 5. But once you see it, it'll be a light bulb moment, like, oh my God, this other stuff I've been noodling over actually has an application. So I think that learning songs is just the best idea. As many as you can, for as long as you can.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we're gonna do one quick one if that's cool. Yes, okay, we're gonna do one last song. What are we gonna do? We got Kmart? Oh, we can't. No. We could. Oh, here's the problem. We could do the Jason Derulo. However, Jason Derulo won't be able to sing for you. Because there was something got screwed up in the file, so. So we need. So that is one thing we could do. Otherwise, we could do it. The want to want me? All right. So this will be not how it's supposed to sound, but whatever. That would have been better with Jason. But thank you everybody for coming. I very much appreciate your support. This was Shawn Crowder on the drums. My partner in crime with Sungazer, and I'm Adam Neely. Thank you so much for lending your hands in applause.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming, guys. All right, so